They thought they had the blueprint to shut them down. A year ago, this matchup was an absolute nightmare for Indiana, splitting the regular season series before getting bounced in the postseason without a single answer for Atlanta. But the team walking onto the floor at Gainbridge Fieldhouse tonight is fundamentally different from the one that crashed out last autumn. Everyone in the building came to see if the hype was real, but the opening minutes proved that rewriting history takes a lot more than just showing up. Atlanta came out swinging with an intense, suffocating defensive scheme designed to trap the ball handler and force immediate mistakes. If Indiana thought this was going to be a walk in the park, Jordan Canada woke them up instantly, launching a deep grenade from beyond the arc that kissed the glass and went down. It was an ugly broken possession for the Dream, but it sent a clear message that they were ready to scrape for every single point. But that was just the surface of what was happening here. The real story of the opening quarter was how Indiana responded to the pressure by leaning on pure, unselfish execution, rather than individual panic. Caitlin Clark found herself heavily guarded on an island with Rhyne Howard, drawing a hard double team almost immediately as she crossed the timeline. Instead of forcing a bad look against the length of the defense, she calmly delivered a beautiful dump-off pass right into the lane to Aliyah Boston, who finished with absolute authority. Seconds later, Kelsey Mitchell hit the accelerator, splitting a confused defensive switch and blowing past the closeout for a lightning-fast layup. Atlanta could not figure out whether to stay home or help on the drive, and that hesitation gave Mitchell all the real estate she needed to punish them. The momentum was shifting, and you could feel the entire energy in the arena completely transform as the home team started finding their rhythm. To understand why this sequence matters, you have to look at the tactical chess match unfolding on the perimeter. Everyone knows Caitlin Clark is a threat the second she steps across half court. But her ability to stop on a dime and manipulate the defense is what opens up the floor for everyone else. Watch the way she draws 3 defenders in transition, forces the entire backline to collapse, and then drops a precise dime right into the pocket of an overlapping teammate. Even when her signature step-back jumper is not falling consistently, her presence alone alters the entire geometry of the court. Atlanta tried to combat this by running their offense through Lorella Kubaj and Nia Coffey in the post, trying to exploit their size advantages early, but Indiana countered by cranking up the physical pressure, forcing a deflected pass that Aliyah Boston nearly stole before resetting the defense. And this is where the story takes a turn nobody expected. While the defense was suffocating the primary options, it was the bench rotation and secondary scorers who completely broke the game wide open. Christy Wallace stepped into a quick trigger three-pointer from downtown, burying it to punish Atlanta for sagging off to help in the paint. Then, Destiny Slocum showed incredible footwork, stepping through a crowded lane to finish a tough contested layup with her left hand. The Dream tried to establish Naz Hillman inside to stop the bleeding, and she did manage to break out of the post for a couple of critical buckets. But every single time Atlanta thought they were mounting a serious comeback, Indiana had an immediate devastating answer ready. Now here's the part that should make you angry if you are an Atlanta fan. The Dream completely lost their identity on the defensive end, getting caught in no man's land during simple pick-and-roll coverages. Aliyah Boston masterfully exposed this lack of communication, matching her career high with multiple made threes and absolutely dominating the interior. She went right at Naz Hillman, using a smooth step-through move to score while drawing the whistle for an old-fashioned three-point play. The numbers show a terrifying picture for the rest of the league when Boston is playing with this level of confidence. When she is hitting from the outside, it forces opposing centers to leave the paint, leaving the rim completely unprotected for cutting guards. But it was not just a one-woman show in the interior, because Kelsey Mitchell was quietly putting on an absolute clinic in scoring efficiency. When asked at halftime what was opening things up for her out there, she simply said she values film study and is just trying to find her angles while playing completely free. And let me tell you, that mindset was on full display as she poured in 14 massive points in the first half alone. She was turning defenders inside out with a wicked behind-the-back dribble before finding teammates or pulling up for a long contested two. The sheer variety in her offensive package was keeping the entire Atlanta coaching staff completely sleepless on the sidelines. And this is where it gets personal. In the third quarter, Indiana decided they were done playing a close game and launched a relentless, soul-crushing 11-0 run. Maya Caldwell tried to stem the tide with a tough drive, but Aliyah Boston met her at the summit, swatting the shot away with vicious intent. That block ignited a fast break where Caitlin Clark delivered a spectacular full-court dime straight to a streaking Kelsey Mitchell for an easy transition bucket. The intensity on the defensive end completely transformed the game, as Indiana forced turnover after turnover, turning the arena into an absolute pressure cooker. Think about the sheer high-level execution required to sustain an 18-3 scoring run against a playoff-caliber team. Kelsey Mitchell was out there cooking every single defender they threw at her, pulling up from the three-ball line with zero hesitation. She was penetrating the lane at will, hitting automatic step-backs off the bounce, and going left with a level of touch that looked completely effortless. Even when Rhyne Howard tried to answer with a desperate long two to stop the bleeding, Indiana just kept pouring it on. Lexi Hull and Victoria Saxton provided crucial minutes, crashing the glass and maintaining the frantic pace that Atlanta simply could not match. Because here's what this all means going forward for the rest of the league. This is a young Indiana team that is actively learning how to win together on the fly with completely new personnel, and they are doing it against quality opposition. Look at the development of their rotation players, who are quickly becoming pivotal pieces in this high-powered offense. When you have multiple threats who can score from anywhere on the floor, it frees up your stars to play with maximum freedom. By the time the fourth quarter rolled around, Indiana had built a commanding 14-point lead, completely neutralizing Atlanta's interior presence. The Dream made one final desperate push in the closing minutes, cutting the deficit back down to single digits behind some tough buckets from Aliyah Gray. She was spinning inside the crowd, manufacturing points out of nothing, and trying to carry the entire offense on her back. Cheyenne Parker-Tyus also battled hard on the glass, generating second-chance opportunities to keep their faint hopes alive. But every time the lead shrank, Indiana closed the door with cold, calculated execution. Caitlin Clark drove the lane, drew the defense, and kicked it out to the perimeter to milk the clock down to perfection. When the final horn sounded at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the scoreboard told the definitive story of a dominant 83-71 victory for Indiana. They didn't just win this game, they completely rewrote the dynamic between these two franchises. The execution, the defensive intensity, and the sheer depth on display proved that this team is no longer the easy matchup they used to be. They are growing up right before our eyes, and the rest of the league needs to start taking notice before it is too late. So let me ask you this. Do you think this version of Indiana has what it takes to make a deep championship run this year, or was this just a hot shooting night against a struggling defense? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you think, and make sure to hit that subscribe button for more deep dive sports analysis.